Now let's look at some art. Open up your sketchbooks, go to the next empty page. All right, so much art history and never enough time to cover it all. So let's go run through the art museum. We are starting a new chapter, chapter 4. Whoops. So in the header of your next empty page, I want you to write chapter 4, big and bold. Or you can write AEGEAN art, which is misspelled. All right. Let's try this again. All right. AEGEAN art. A reminder to write this page number on your table of contents. And also a reminder of 5 hand-drawn sketches per chapter. Are we ready to go? Let's go. All right, here's a map of the world. Where is Europe on this map? Where is it? Left, right, bottom, top, center? Yeah, top center. All right. This is Europe. And let's take a closer look at Europe. We're trying to find Greece. Where is Greece? Do you know where Greece is on the map? By the way, those of you that are sitting behind the still life, if you can move to see the screen. All right, Greece is at the bottom there. That is Greece. So if we take a closer look at Greece, we are looking at Aegean art, and Aegean art gets its name from the Aegean Sea. So what we're going to be looking at is stuff from all over these. One of the things you notice about Greece is tons of islands. All right, and that's what we're going to be looking at. A lot of art is from all these islands. All right, I got a big story to tell you guys. All right, this is the story of the Trojan War. You ever heard of the Trojan War before? All right, what causes the most problems in Greek mythology? Here's a pie chart. The red part is hubris. Do you guys know what hubris is? Hubris is excessive pride. Like you think too highly of yourself. That causes problems in Greek mythology. Another piece of the pie is fate or a prophecy that could not be avoided. Another piece of the pie is some hissy fit, some god threw a hissy fit because a human was better than them. And the big slice of the pie was Zeus couldn't keep it in his pants. But for the purposes of the Trojan War was caused by fate or prophecy that could not be avoided. So let's go to the Trojan War about 25 years before the war. There's the city of Troy. And the Troy has massive walls. The walls were built by Poseidon, the god of the sea. He built these walls so tall and so thick that no army could ever penetrate these walls. And you can get a sense of just how large these walls are in this image right here. All right, so inside the city of Troy, we have Queen Hecuba and King Priam. They already have one child right here, and they have a second child on the way. You can see that she is pregnant right here. Now, before she has the child, she has a dream that a flaming torch, she has a dream of a flaming torch, and the city of Troy is burning to the ground. So the next day, she gives birth to Alexander. And the king and the queen go to the oracle who can predict the future. And so basically, the oracle talks to the gods. And if you have a big question, if you want the gods to answer your question, then you would go to the oracle, ask the oracle the question. She would ask the gods the question. They would answer her back, and she would give you the answer. Now, her answer would be in complete gibberish. And so there's these priests that are around her that interpret the gibberish and tell you what the dream means. In this case, the queen wants to know what her dream means. She sees a torch, she sees the city burning, she wants to know what it means. And the oracle, basically the message comes back as your second child will be the downfall of your kingdom. So, what do you do if you're king and queen and you have the second child and you realize that the child is going to grow up and be the downfall of the kingdom? What do? You got to get rid of the kid, right? If the kid's going to be the cause of the downfall, you got to get rid of the kid. But how do you kill a baby? Can you stab a baby? Like, holding it in your arms and it's being all cute and cuckoo, it's like gooing and eyeing and making cute baby noises. Are you going to stab it? Like, that's inhuman. You can't do that. You're a monster if you do. So the king and the queen cannot bring themselves to kill the baby. So they give the baby to a herdsman, and they tell the herdsman to kill the baby. And he has the same problem. He can't kill the baby. So what he does is he takes the baby up to the mountain, leaves it there, and walks away. He comes back 9 days later, and the baby is still alive, and with a she bear, a mama bear. The mama bear has been keeping it alive. And the herdsman saw this as a sign from the gods. And so the herdsman brought the baby home in his backpack, which is called a pare, Pare. So he names the baby Paris. Paris grows up to be one of the most handsome young men ever. And believing that the herdsman is his father. One of the things that Paris likes to do is he likes to breed and raise cattle and bulls. He likes raising bulls and he likes fighting the bulls, and he shows them off in beauty contests. All right, and it's almost like the rodeo where we judge the best bull or the best cow, and so that is what Paris is doing. One of these times where he's fighting the bull, all right, I have to tell you, Greeks really are weird, and so parts of their stories are quite weird. So the Ares, the god of war, disguises himself as a bull and enters himself into these bullfighting contests where bulls fight each other, and and he will also put himself in these in the beauty pageants or these for the best bull, and he would first of all, he would win in the fighting contest and he would win in the beauty contest. And I don't know why he turns himself into a bull. I guess it's just to feed his ego. But, anyways, in these contests, Paris shows himself to be a good judge, that he judges Ares to be the winner in the fights. He judges Ares to be the winner in the most beautiful bulls, and he doesn't know that this is Ares, the god disguised as a bull. But he just he's a fair judge, and he judges who is the most beautiful. So Paris gets a reputation of being a good judge. All right. Meanwhile, across the Aegean Sea. So up here we have Troy, and then we're going to go down to this big island right here into Sparta. This is the Peloponnesian Peninsula. And so we're going to look at these Spartans here. So in Sparta, we have King Tyndareus and Queen Leda, and they have a child named Helen. Now, Helen is the most beautiful woman in the whole world. And she's of age now. So she's a young woman. And all these men want to be her husband. And she's rejecting all of them. There's lots of suitors, and all these guys. And not only are these are not just regular men, although regular men are also pining for her, but these are princes, these are kings, these are, people with huge amounts of money and huge amounts of land and huge amounts of power. So, and she's rejecting them all. But the one person that she really does love is Menelaus. So when she's old enough to marry, there's many suitors who want to marry her. All are very important kings and princes and such. So how do you choose which one without offending all the others? So before we click on this, because they're all being rejected, they agree that whoever she chooses will be the one that whoever she chooses, they will all respect that. Because if she chooses one of them, the others will get angry and they'll start a war, and they don't want a war over all of this. But so she does eventually choose Menelaus. All these other guys agree to honor this marriage. All right, so, and all the kings that are trying to marry her are all from this part of Greece. All right, now, meanwhile, up on Mount Olympus, do you guys know that Mount Olympus is where all the gods live? They're having a wedding. So there's a wedding between Peleus and Thetis, and they're all having a great time. They're dancing. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, all the gods and goddesses were invited to this wedding. And Peleus is a god, Thetis is a goddess. They're lower level gods and goddesses. I even think that Thetis is a nymph. Anyways, but everybody's invited except for Eris, the goddess of discord. And discord means disagreement between people. Discord means strife and chaos and arguments and everything. Why wouldn't you invite Eris to your wedding? She's a troublemaker, all right? Wherever she goes, she causes trouble. So what she does is she creates this golden apple. And on the apple, she writes, "For the fairest." And she throws the apple into the wedding party, and immediately three goddesses claim that it's theirs. For the fairest means for the most beautiful. So Hera, who is Zeus's wife and sister, claims, "Hey, I'm the most beautiful. That apple belongs to me." Athena, the goddess of war and wisdom, says, "I'm the most beautiful. That apple belongs to me." Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty and marriage, says, "I'm the most beautiful. That apple belongs to me." So they go to Zeus and they say, "Zeus, will you please judge who is the most beautiful out of all of us?" And Zeus says, "I'm not judging. I'm not coming close to this. This is trouble." So the goddesses go and find Paris. Why do they choose Paris? Because he is a good judge. He's proven himself to be a good judge with the bulls and Aries and all of that. So they ask him to choose. So you can imagine you are Paris and you are a herdsman and you are tending your flock on a hillside, and three goddesses appear before you. Hermes appears before you, and Hermes explains, you got to choose which of these goddesses is the most beautiful. And to sweeten the deal, each of the goddesses offers him a gift if he should choose her. So Athena here with all her armor, she says, I will give you great glory in battle. Hera says, I will give you a kingdom of your own to rule. And Aphrodite says, I will give you the love of the most beautiful woman in the whole world. Who does he choose? He chooses Aphrodite. And so he chooses the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Long story short, he becomes reunited with his real parents. So he realizes that he is not a shepherd's son, but he is actually a prince. You remember that his father and his mother gave him to the shepherd to kill, and he left him up on the mountain. All right. His older brother, Hector, says hey, Paris is going to cause lots of trouble. But the parents are very happy that they are reunited with their son because they feel really bad about trying to kill him. All right, long story short, or like a while later, this is Paris, or this is Troy up here. This is Sparta down here. They have a diplomatic mission, and Paris is on this diplomatic mission. He's supposed to go to Sparta and make friends with Sparta. But while he is there, he sees Helen, the love of the most beautiful woman in the world, and he falls in love with her because not only because she's beautiful, but because that's what he chose with by choosing Aphrodite. So he is ignoring his diplomatic obligations, and he is choosing to woo Helen. All right. So Aphrodite also causes Helen to fall in love with Paris. So they are having an affair. And Menelaus finds out that's her husband. Menelaus is a great king with a whole army of his own. So Paris and Helen run away together, and he takes her back to Troy. Now, do you remember that great alliance? All the kings are going to honor the marriage of Helen and Menelaus. So Menelaus plans to go to Troy and get Helen back. That means everybody else has to go to Troy and get Helen back. And a lot of people say that Helen is the face that could launch 1,000 ships. These are the 1,000 ships that they're talking about. All these armies are going to go because of Helen. And so they sail to Troy. There's the city of Troy. Here's the beaches in front of Troy. And you can see the army of Troy lining up right here on the beaches. So the Greeks, or the Spartans and the Greeks, set up camp on the beach. Hello. What's up? I'm doing great. Sorry, we just came by. How's your year going? Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. All right, thank you very much. Yeah, you can stay and listen to the story time. All right. So the Greeks land up on the beaches and they set up their armies' camps along here. And so basically, what we have is on the beaches, we have the Greek camps, and up here, we have the city of Troy. And every day, the Trojan army comes out of the city of Troy, and the Greeks come out of their camps on the beach, and they have war between the walls of Troy and the camps on the beach. It will look something like this. The Greeks are trying to get into Troy and burn it down. The Trojans are trying to defend Troy and trying to obliterate the Greeks. And so the war rages on and on for 10 years. 10 years. At the end of the 10 years, All the generals of the Greeks are tired of fighting. They've left their families back in Greece. Their children are growing up without them. Their wives, who knows what their wives are doing without them? So they want to go back home. They're tired of this. It's been going on too long. And they can't get past the walls of Troy. So they come up with a plan. You've heard of the plan? It's the Trojan horse. So they make this massive horse, and they leave the horse on the beach, and the ships leave the beach, making it look like the Greeks have given up and gone home. The Trojans wake up in the morning, they see all the Greeks are gone, they see the massive horse. They think, and there's a complicated reason why they bring the horse inside, which I will get to later. But they bring the horse inside thinking that they've won the war and they're going to celebrate. And they celebrate. When you have a big celebration, what are you doing a lot of? You're doing a lot of dancing, you're doing a lot of drinking, you're doing a lot of eating, and a lot of other things that take up a lot of energy. Well, at the end of the night, everybody is so tired from the dancing, the eating, the drinking, and the partying, and the running, and the everything, that the whole city falls into a deep sleep. Inside the horse, there's a few Trojan soldiers. They sneak out, kill the guards at the gate, open the gate, signal for the rest of the Greeks to come. They come in with their ships and they burn Troy to the ground. That's the story of the Trojan War. I told you that story because in 1870, Heinrich Schliemann discovers Troy. Up until then, Troy is believed to be mythology. It's just like Zeus is a made up god, and Athena and all of those are made up gods. They're not real. So Troy, the story of Troy wasn't real. Well, he finds a buried city that comes from the exact same time that Troy would have been alive, and he finds these massive walls, and he finds all these evidence that points to that he found Troy. So he dug into a vast mound, and you remember, like when we looked at Jericho, Jericho is just basically a big mound. That's kind of what he found. But he found a number of fortified cities around there, and they were built on the remains of one another, and one of which had evidence of burning at 13th century BC, which is Troy. It's in the area of Troy, and he thinks he found Troy. So, what this does, though, and how this affects us in this class, is this triggers a huge interest in archaeology of Greece. If Troy is real, then what about all these other stories? Are they real? So, archaeologists from all over Europe and America come flooding into Greece and start digging around and trying to find stuff. And that's where we find all this amazing stuff uh, from the islands of Greece. All right, so we're dividing up. I see. We are at. All right, I'll do this explanation, then we'll be done for the day. All right, so we're going to divide up Greece into several different areas. So there's the Cyclades or Cycladic art. On the island of Crete is Minoan art. And then on the mainland is Helladic art. And so we're going to go and look at Cycladic sculpture first. And we got 4 minutes until the end, so we're going to stop right here. This is a good place to stop.